And welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bisschop, and today we are talking Dawn of the Dead. That's right, Dawn of the Dead from 1978 and Dawn of the Dead 2004, Zack Snyder's directorial debut. And with me today are my usual hosts, Trish Cochlan, who is also bike riding up here once again.
I feel I shouldn't mess with the magic. I feel I should be sweaty for every single one of these.
That's right. There's literally this pool coalescing under a chair right now. Yeah, I know, right? That's my couch you're sitting on.
Yeah, but that's not happening.
Well, it put a nice image in
dried
our...
up now.
Really nice image? Is that how you define a nice image?
A really nice, scary image
Okay, thank you.
In the heads of our audience. But, and with me as always, Jeff McNair, looking rather dapper with Hitchcock on his shirt today, too.
Well, yeah, we're talking movies. I gotta
jacket.
support one of the greatest directors of all time, of course. So
Yes, because has everything to do with Living Dead. Not at all, no.
It sort of does. I'm sure Romero was influenced by Hitchcock, like everybody is.
And you brought yourself a guest as well.
I did, since we're covering zombies, and zombies need more brains. That translated to me, that means more Jeffs in the room. So I brought along my friend Jeff Hrlich, who is a movie fanatic, poster collector, and self-proclaimed master of Dawn of the Dead. Jeff?
Hello. How's it going?
Hey, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you. Now, everybody's kind of got their firsts for Dawn of the Dead. In fact, my first viewing of Dawn of the Dead 1978 anyway was yesterday.
Wow.
And doing my research, I'm like, which cut do I watch? And
I said U.S. theatrical.
yes, last week you did say U.S. theatrical, and you need to do it in your best voice from last...
I just
What?
did.
Oh, come on. Give me a...
Okay, well, to paint a picture, everybody, he's shaking his fist saying U.S. theatrical.
I only suggested that. That is,
U.S. theatrical!
that's not my favorite cut by any means, but I thought it would just be easily accessible. Like if I was like, oh, let's only watch
And it was.
Argento's
It's
European
probably the one that
cut.
most people have seen if you've rented the movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
back in the 80s like I did.
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And what about you, Trish?
Yeah, well, I'd seen on like lists of things for like scary moments. I'd actually seen like clips from Dawn of the Dead, like on other listings, like what's the scariest moment in like movie history, and like I've seen clips of Dawn of the Dead. So there's sections of it I've actually seen, but the whole movie was just yesterday.
You guys are
Wow.
literally killing me.
Well, I'd seen lots of stuff covered in various horror documentaries at this point. And the one thing I was actually really looking forward to is that good head below yuppie scene.
Which is not
Which
in
is
US
not in U.S. theatrical.
Yeah.
And I was also looking forward to the Goblin music, which
is
was not in the U.S. theatrical.
Yeah. Which is a
Yeah.
crying shame. That score is
So now you need to go back and watch, I would say, the European cut.
I want to see the European cut because I
the-
want to hear Argento's music.
The
as well.
extended,
Yeah, exactly.
the extended cut is the one that I prefer out of all of those. The European cut is good, but like all Euro movies, really focuses on the gore and takes out a lot of the comedy and human interaction to focus on the gore. And it's a great watch, but I think the extended is the way to go because then you get a good balance of
Yeah, I
everything
agree.
and the Goblin soundtrack.
Anytime
How-
you can
how
see
long
more
is the
footage, it's
extended?
better.
About 2.5 hours, I'd say.
Okay,
There's-
so
Extended's about
mine I
2.5.
saw was 2 hours and 20 minutes,
Oh, you
That's-
might have.
and there was a lot of gore in it.
Yeah.
Did the
might
guy
have
get his
accidentally
arm pulled off in the blood pressure tester? Like you see it pull away?
he did, and then they also
then
had people who were just gnawing at bone.
Nah, you didn't watch the right one. Jeez. Gosh.
Good. Somebody else with a different perspective.
Yeah, different perspective. Well, I mean, you and I have seen all the cuts, Jeff. So
Yeah.
we're in there for sure.
There is an online cut now on YouTube, a fan-made cut. And the reason why there's so many different cuts is Romero did so much coverage on every scene from every angle that could make all sorts of different cuts of this
Yeah.
thing. And there's a fan cut on there on the YouTube channel, and my God, it's 2 hours 45 minutes. I'm not watching that.
Cram it all in there.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, everything Romero shot must be in there.
Well, my first watch of Dawn of the Dead was not yesterday. The first horror movie I ever watched was Night of the Living Dead at my cousin's house in secret because I was 8 years old, not allowed to watch scary movies. So that was 1988. But a few years later, as I started like becoming more interested in horror movies and always going back to Night of the Living Dead, of course, I started. I was just in the video store in the horror section, and on VHS they had Dawn of the Dead, and I recognized Romero's name, and I was like, oh, well, this is that zombie guy, so this is going to be awesome. And I must have paid for that tape 5 or 6 times renting it before VHS was a little more available to purchase.
And this is the second movie in his Dead world, I guess he's building. I used to call it the Holy Trilogy, but since there's a bunch more now since then. And yeah, as the second movie, it's kind of, even though there's no characters from the first movie in the second, it's a nice building of that world. It opens in that TV station, and the plague is kind of in progress.
Yeah, you get thrown right in.
Yeah, even though it's 10 years later, the film was made. It's basically like a couple days after the outbreak started.
They're placing it in the midst.
He just made it 10 years later.
And the panic's really starting to kick in. I mean, it's happening right at the TV station.
And it's in a city this time and not out in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. More budget for extras, I think, this time around.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot difference between this one and the Zack Snyder 2004 remake. We'll definitely get into all that. This one's more of a slow builds suspense movie as opposed to the frenetic action movie that's I think Zack Snyder's,
which is common at the time.
For sure.
Yeah,
it's very common in the 70s to find those slow burn movies that are more thrillers than.
They didn't mix a lot of action and horror in those days.
Yeah. I do feel this thing runs long. For having less characters in this film,
yes,
it's a really long movie to go through. It's still engaging, but you have less characters, you figure there'd be more character building, but in some cases, there's even less.
Yeah.
I find the opposite. The thing I really like about Dawn of the Dead in the pile of zombie movies we have now is that I think it effectively shows it does what Walking Dead fails to do, which shows like
there's some Walking Dead fans in this room.
I quite like Walking Dead.
All right, well, screw you guys, but it really shows the human.
You're the minority, right?
Yeah, I know. It shows the human condition during a time like this better than the other movies do. Like, you can tell that, and I disagree with a few hours later, it felt to me, with the SWAT teams, that they had been dealing with it for a while, and what they were having to do with, shooting essentially people and all this death around them was really starting to weigh on them, and you could see a lot of the guys starting to crack under the pressure, and these are like trained professional, they're not like beat cops. They're like SWAT or whatever, right? So it was really, really weighing on them, and they do exactly what we all say we're going to do. We're going to hole up in a mall or in a grocery store, and life's going to be awesome. And it progresses to the point where, it is awesome for a little while, but the isolation and the looming threat starts tearing them apart, like both like between each other and then mentally as well. You see them starting to crack, especially with Gaylen Ross's character, like, really losing her mind with the isolation, and then, stating that she wants to be involved because, she's feeling separated from them in this, like, horrible
Well, to be
condition.
fair, she has the additional pressure where she's like, look, I'm pregnant.
Also pregnant, yeah.
Like,
and no say in it either. She's like, have you made your decision?
Yeah, and she's sitting there, she has to face not just zombies, but giving birth in this situation, having a child come in, like how terrifying is that? Like that's messed up.
Well, according to Zack Snyder, very terrifying.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Of course you're going to freak out. Of course you're going to crack a bit.
Isn't it kind of funny how none of the characters had any families that they had to worry about? The 4 characters who left together, they're all just by themselves. So it's very convenient for the film.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Well,
right?
yeah, they mentioned people like the one Peter had brothers.
No one was married. No one had children.
Well, they had ex-husbands and ex-wives, and that's pretty much it.
All ex-people.
And when you were saying about the SWAT team, where you could tell that they've had to deal with this for a while. There's a great scene early in the film where when they're in the apartment building, and the young SWAT guy runs out of ammo because he starts to panic.
Yeah,
and he gets tackled by one of the slow-moving zombies, and just in time pulls out his pistol and shoots it like 4 times in the head at close range. But you could see how, like, maybe that guy was just fresh to the force, or they called in everybody for this epidemic.
Actually,
and they're just like losing it, right? They're just not being able to, they can't handle it.
Well,
and
I
the
wrote
one guy that
down.
snaps with the shotgun.
Yeah, he's going to snap. But when I wrote that down. When you say tackle, I'm like, that wasn't a tackle. The zombie just kind of grabs his ankle and he just
kind of
collapses randomly. Yeah. But it's the SWAT team is going just freaking nuts. But it goes more to what you were saying. What would we do? Would we hole up in our buildings and our little environments and stay there? But the point of the entire beginning of the film was the government is trying to get people out of there and relocate them. So they're fighting these people to get them out of these places.
Yeah, they're basically evicting
when the point was for people to feel safe, they're barricading themselves in.
Yeah. Well, we're getting pretty deep in. So maybe we should... Do you want you to make your point? And then I'm going to run the trailer, I think, for this.
Okay, before I lose it. I guess it could spur another discussion, but I'm going to throw it out here anyway, is that I find that George Romero's movies always are relevant to the time. Like Night was relevant because of the scare of like biological warfare and the space race and stuff, terror from the sky. And in this one, you're thinking of like evicting people, right? I mean, what they do in that movie is they go to the projects, and there's a lot of racial tension.
The poorest people are the ones who've been affected the worst.
Yeah, and they're trying to. So it's the government coming in. And they're evicting the black people out of the projects, basically. Everybody get out, and they don't want to go, right? And so I think they're
protecting their families who already turned.
Yeah, exactly. That speaks to something a lot bigger than just there's zombies in the building, get out.
Yeah. That's something that Romero does really well in his movies, is the social and political commentary that I think sometimes gets lost in the remakes, and definitely
non-existent.
It's non-existent in Zack Snyder's. It's still a very entertaining
Ving
movie.
Rhames says... what does he say? I'd rather follow a guy who sells TVs than a guy who steals them.
Yeah, from a cop to a
that's your
criminal.
one moment. Yeah,
a cop to a criminal.
Yeah. But there's also the other. There's thematical, like human thematical stuff that's in both of them. Where people are like, do we kill them before?
I think it's handled more. I don't know, better, but more heavy-handed in the Romero cut.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Trailer.
With that, let's roll the trailer, and here we go.
In 1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time.
Not that room! Not that room!
Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all times.
It gets up and kills. The people it kills get up and kill. This situation must be controlled before it's too late. They are multiplying too rapidly.
Dawn of the Dead.
Meet me on the roof at 9 o'clock. Get out.
I don't believe it.
We're going to get out in the chopper. We've got to survive. Somebody's got to survive.
They kill for one reason. They kill for food. They eat their victims.
Imagine, if you will, that something has gone terribly wrong.
Shoot it, man.
Now, accept the fact that there's no escaping the horrible consequences. George Romero brings back the dead. Night of the Living Dead has ended. Dawn of the Dead is here.
We must not be lulled by the concept that these are our family members or our friends. They are not. They will not respond to such emotions.
Operator dead. Post abandoned. We may never get out of the room. It's everywhere. What the hell is it?
Looks like a shopping center. One of those big indoor malls.
What are they doing? Why do they come here?
Some kind of instinct, memory, what they used to do. This was an important place in their lives.
What is it?
We've got a war.
I'm afraid.
We have spawned our own savagery. Soon it will consume us all. It is a horrible, hauntingly accurate vision of the mindless excesses of a society gone mad.
They must be destroyed on sight.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
We are down to the line, folks. We are down to the line.
Dawn dead.
All right, that was the trailer for the 1978 Dawn of the Dead by George Romero. And even in the trailer, you can see a lot of these kind of cartoony characters. And they're throughout the movie, and especially in the zombies. But even at the beginning, before a lot of stuff happens, there's like a TV guy with an eye patch, a one-legged priest.
Oh, I love the one-legged priest. I thought that was so fun.
Yeah, exactly, right?
I thought that was really cool.
He had a great scene, though, I think.
He had a great
scene, and then he walks away. I'm like, holy crap. Like, how good is that?
He said something to the effect of, you are stronger than them, but soon they will be stronger than you, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent.
Because they kept their dead in the basement because they didn't want to do anything
so
with
he
them.
was like the foretelling character, of the what's coming, right?
Yeah.
It was excellently done.
Yeah, most definitely. And there's all sorts of great little cartoony, comic booky kind of characters in this film. I was really thrown by one character early on, long before the mall. He didn't last very long.
The helicopter guy?
This dude was like... This was right when they were doing their attack, even before the helicopter. He's like this serious racist cop dude.
Oh, yeah.
It was so jarring.
Oh, the one that's...
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to kill all these... Like, they're...
Blankety blank.
Yeah,
blankety blank.
we can't say all those words on the air anymore.
But
my lord, like, oof, he
went crazy. Like at one point, they're running around. Like his commanding officer is on his back, trying to disarm him and bring him down.
Yeah, and he's shooting innocent people who aren't even.
He's shooting people who aren't even turned. He's just shooting everybody.
How does this kind of guy become a police officer?
Well,
he's
how do any crazy people become in any sort of?
But look what's happening now
cops,
in the news.
Military, anything. Yeah,
fair enough.
Hello Ferguson. Hello everything else.
Yeah, it is definitely topical.
Just speaking to the racial tension in a really in-your-face, like you said earlier, heavy-handed way.
And now I wish there was a clip I wish I would have gotten. I didn't, from a documentary, and Romero says, what do you got to do? What do you got to do to wake people up?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And, he's been saying this for a while, and nobody's listening.
Unfortunately, it took another cop to shoot him, to take him down. Because the commanding officer is like going, look, just stop. It's not working. So finally, another cop just has to take him down.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been ahead of his time, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. Always ahead of his time.
Every decade, he had a theme to each movie that he made, and it was very relevant. And this, even Dawn of the Dead, is still relevant today because of the whole consumerism.
Oh, commercialism never goes
it's
away.
It's weird. Everybody was talking about like how this was all about consumerism, but I felt like there was more like kind of racial stuff at the beginning that was more telling.
Oh, I mean, the
government overstepping their boundaries.
That's in all his films, government control.
Yeah, always
underlying for sure.
That first 45, because I think it takes good 45 minutes before they even get to the mall.
Yeah, it's not like
that's like a whole movie unto itself.
Oh, for sure.
And the Monroeville Mall was like, it's funny how when they first see it, they don't even know what it is. What is that?
Well, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, right?
It's because in those days they didn't have a lot of malls everywhere. Apparently, that was one of the first malls around.
So did they do them like Cross Iron Mills, like kind of in the middle of nowhere outside of the city?
Nobody knows what Cross Iron is.
They had to have a lot of land, and I'm assuming that's.
I know, but we do. Anybody in Calgary who listens to this podcast will be like, oh yeah, Cross Iron Mills.
Okay,
it's a big, large mall.
For those of you who
Calgary.
live in other places in the world, we have a small town called Balzac. We make fun of it and call it Balsac. And they built this gigantic mall there. It's probably bigger than the town itself.
Sure.
Its population is greater, that's for sure.
Yeah.
With tiny little roads going
with incredible discount prices. Yeah. It's an outlet mall. It's a gigantic outlet mall.
It is.
It's got the Bass Pro Shop.
But there's a gun shop attached to it, so it's about as close as you can get to the Monroeville Mall as there is, right?
If you're in Calgary, that's where you want to go.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Well, which is funny because there is the gun shop scene in the Monroeville Mall, but that was actually shot in a gun store separate from the mall. Almost everything in that movie was shot at the mall, including the bedroom scene, except that scene. And then they just cut it in such a way.
Gun shop in a mall, even in the U.S.
Maybe in the 70s.
Not an interior mall like that.
Possibly.
All sorts of crazy things happened in the 70s.
I don't see
my
somebody
parents
buying a gun and walking through the mall to take their rifle to their car. I think that would be a little strange.
Wasn't there the documentary? Somebody went to a bank, you open an account, you get a gun?
Yeah.
That was Michael Moore.
That was
Michael Moore, and
Moore's.
that was not in the 70s.
But that's in some small town in like Texas or something, right?
They ran out of toasters.
Yeah. Can only make so much toast. There, I was going to say something
It'd
about
be
the
too
gun
dangerous,
shop.
first of all, because there's all this live ammunition in there, and there's gunpowder, and I mean that would be very dangerous to have inside of a building that's inside of a larger building. You know what I mean? I just don't think it would be.
Well, and the gun
realistic.
shop too. Like the thing I really appreciated about the '70s gun shop in the Morinville Mall was that they played that really soothing music. With the crazy tribal African drums and the screeching animals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Right.
wasn't that like the most bizarre?
It had to have jungle music.
Yeah,
for
jungle
something?
music.
That was strange.
It was really
There's
strange.
all the jungle hunting that's good in wherever Monroeville is.
They're in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Monroeville,
Must
Pennsylvania,
have been
jungle
some
hunting.
marketing technique.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, anyway, like they managed. They're people who got in a chopper and managed to get to the mall. So they've been traveling for a while in a chopper.
Yeah, and actually, this whole movie happens over several months. It's
Oh, for sure.
6 or 7 months at least. I don't know how far along she is at the start of the movie, but she's not
like
showing.
3 or 4 months
Okay,
at the
so
beginning. So
let's-
she
let's
wouldn't
say
be
about
showing.
6.
But by the end, she's
5
at
to
least
6.
7.
Yeah, she's getting right there. She looks like she's going to pop.
Physically and mentally.
Yeah, whereas the Zack Snyder movies, maybe a month, maybe.
Oh, it's probably like
I
3
thought
or
it was
4
like-
days.
Yeah, it wasn't very long.
Yeah,
at
it
all.
certainly doesn't seem like it's...
Couple weeks, because like the lady who's pregnant, she is about to pop for certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like got an arm hanging out already. Like she's ready to go in that movie. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's seriously like what 2 or 3 nights, and that's that.
I think
His Russian
I think
bride.
I read
His Russian bride. Yeah,
about 2 weeks or so. Maybe.
2 weeks?
Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
I'd say
wrong.
2
Yeah,
weeks.
it's
like
not-
it's a couple weeks. It's
yeah,
not
They
very
did the
long.
whole little
very long.
montage where they all trying to find stuff to do.
Yeah.
because they're bored, and then the love affair blossoms and all that stuff. In that short
Yeah.
amount of
And
time.
those of us,
Yeah.
those of you guys who were listening last week about montages, we only get one per movie this time around. So
I
that's
know,
nice.
yeah. They made good use
Especially-
of their montage.
Which
Yeah.
is, in the 78, that's actually surprising given how damn long this movie is.
Oh, for
Maybe
sure.
they could have done with another montage or two just to trim down that
Yeah.
time span a little bit. But not a lot of it's wasted either. We get to see them do all sorts of things. And Monroeville Mall in and of itself is a strange character and mall at the same
Yeah,
time.
interesting
It's-
place.
It is built very strangely.
Well, it reminded me kind of West Ed. It's got like an ice rink. And it's
Yeah.
got all these places, the amusements. They
Well,
got, like,
and
the
those
arcade
small
they're
rooms
in.
that are almost impossible to access above the mall,
yeah.
which were very weird. And
Like,
they
there's
were
an air
fully
vent that leads to all these rooms.
Yeah, but
and
haven't you ever
fully
wondered what's
stocked.
behind all the stores in a mall? I
It
mean,
sounds
and
like
it's
a
all
like
mall
a secret
panic
little
room.
area for who knows, for storage and for.
There are there's hallways behind where you could go.
So
Yeah.
yes, please, if you guys work in a mall, let us know. Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want to let us know, email us, and tell us what the secret compartments in a mall
There's
are.
probably
the
offices
secret
upstairs too
hallways.
for management.
Yeah, there'd be
and,
stuff in there.
you
But it
know.
was
Where- where the safe
fully
was.
stocked
Yeah.
with survival stuff.
That's true. It was like boxes
That's what
of
I
spam.
didn't get.
Yeah.
Why was that there? That confused me the
Was
most.
that there when they got there?
Yeah.
Yeah. They come down and she goes, "It's spam."
Well,
Oh wait.
the outbreak's already happened
That's
for a
what
while.
I'm wondering.
So maybe whoever was there was preparing to stock up,
Maybe.
was already stocking up, preparing to settle down in there, and some reason it was vacant.
yeah.
Maybe the police kicked them all out, or we don't
or
know.
somebody who worked at the mall had decided. Well,
I'm
let's do
surprised
this.
nobody else was there when they got there besides
They just had
zombies.
zombies. Maybe some of those people
bugged
were
out.
people that were supposed to be doing
Could be.
that.
Yeah, they could have been.
Yeah,
spam.
they could have been like an outpost to go to the mall instead of panicking or whatever. It could have been laid out for refugees of the attacks or whatever.
Yeah, it might have been a military thing. They
Yeah.
might have decided to put stuff there just in case.
Yeah, a stash point.
Who
I
knows?
don't know, but it seemed like it was those upper areas were difficult to get to. They had to
Yeah, one
ladders.
access in the huge mall to those rooms.
Yeah, so
Which is, if you want some place to defend.
I'm guessing
Which
the
is why they
builder
stay
of the
there.
mall was embezzling or something. this is
Well, again, if that mall was one of the early malls, maybe
Maybe he
it's
might
like
have
a prototype, right?
to. Yeah.
For
this
malls
is
to come
before
later.
it was
right?
a gangster mall.
It was a gangster mall. It was a laundering mall.
Yeah. It was eventually that was where the illegal
So,
gambling was supposed to happen.
I have a question, though. Like, I must have seen maybe the U.S. cut. But you were talking about like how much gorier the European one is. Like, I don't know. I thought the U.S. one, the stuff I saw, was fairly gruesome.
Oh,
like,
it's definitely gory. All versions are going to be gory.
Like the
sure.
ones, but they go right in with like that wet eating of meat, like off of
Now,
bone.
was this the first Savini after his Vietnam tour? I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
like his first special effects.
It's the first time they
job.
worked together.
Yeah. After, because he wanted Savini for Night, but I don't think he didn't get him until Dawn.
I don't know how they know each other.
No? But
I don't know if Savini
I can see why that violence is there
Savini
coming out
probably
of
would have still been in
Vietnam and
Vietnam
still
in
trying
68.
to, you know, there's arms ripping off and heads blowing up and all sorts of crazy stuff in there. He pulled every trick out of the bag he
comparatively, when you look at like the new Dawn of the Dead in 2004 versus the old one is like, that's just like that eating, very graphic of the people, whereas like the new one, the odd bite, really, it's not even in the same league.
Well, Zack Snyder handles those threats
as the grotesqueness.
differently.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't think we ever saw anybody actually being eaten in remake, right?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, right away.
Yeah,
in the janitor.
When he stumbles across, he surprised the guy, and he's eating the guy's guts. Yeah,
that's still minimal.
I think that's the only. But throughout the first Dawn, it's throughout the whole movie, people getting bitten.
Yeah.
Right?
But comparatively, if you compare the two, that's nothing.
Well, I think it speaks.
Like that's
they got to worry about the MPAA in modern films. Back then,
you could get away with. That's an independent movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, and I think Zach was trying to build them more as a threat. He definitely, the makeup was far superior in the remake, and he spends a lot less time on them. I think that's maybe where Romero's film fails a little bit, is they're just all kind of gray face painted, and he spends a lot of time on their faces.
Inventing something, everyone else is just improving on what you invented.
Sure, absolutely. I'm not discounting that at all. Romero's, when you're holding on to a shot that long on a zombie, it kind of humanizes them. So, and maybe that was the point.
He spends a lot of time humanizing the zombies, though.
Yeah.
That's why he has so many character zombies or hero zombies.
Yeah.
So that you can identify.
I love the Hare
them.
Krishna zombie.
That's
that was hilarious.
He does conventions, I think, doesn't he, that guy?
He does. So does the nurse zombie. And
there's the nun zombie.
The escalator zombie.
She was a lead zombie, and the nun zombie was supposed to die, but he liked her, so nun zombie just got let go.
These people make a career out of doing signatures these days at conventions.
For being zombies.
For being the big zombie. Right?
Yeah, now you're under so much makeup, nobody would recognize you anyway. So
there's a little bonus feature on the DVD where they do a tour of the Monroeville Mall, and they have many of those character zombies were there for a special walkthrough with the people who paid money to go through this tour, and Ken Foree was the main guide.
Nice.
I think I would have loved to have done that, right?
Is that mall even open as a mall anymore? Is it just a tourist thing now? Or
it's still a mall. JCPenney's still there, but and that little bridge is the only thing that's still recognizable over the little koi pond.
Oh yeah, it has a very 70s look.
Yeah,
so I would think
you'd have to renovate it at some point.
Of course, it's been like 40 years.
Yeah, I kept looking at that Brown Derby place. I had to look it up. Apparently, it was just a bar in the mall, but they show it a lot. It was driving me nuts. What is that place?
Apparently the zombies got after hours got really loaded in there, and they crashed a golf cart and did like $7,000 to a marble pillar worth of damage.
Oof.
Yeah.
So like the place they show a lot in the film is where all these zombies just got trashed.
And they couldn't start filming until 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
They had to wrap up by 7, 8.
6, I think, 6 in the morning.
And they had decorations up for, I think it was Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, man.
And they had to take them all down and then put them back up every day.
Wow.
Yeah, well, they wound up stopping shooting because it was just a ridiculous amount of labor. So for 3 weeks, they stopped shooting at Christmas time because and the pre-recorded stuff were coming up, and it was just easier to and cheaper.
From a budget perspective, if you can defer some costs,
so they just
make it
stopped shooting for 3 weeks until after Christmas and resumed in January. But it was a long shoot too. Like he was shooting that for 4 months, which is a long time.
Which you can see because it starts off as sort of like you get that fall feel when like for some of it, but then I see some of it there was like snow on the ground for parts that I don't think that was meant to be there.
They had like shirtless zombies outside, and it was like December in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
it's cold there. but you would never know from watching the film.
So, what are some of your favorite scenes in this movie? I'm going to start with Jeff here.
God, there's so many. The one cringeworthy scene for me, as far as like the gore and stuff, is that first bite in the apartment building where it's the guy and his wife, whatever, and he bites her in the neck, and it's just that long pull. I still look away from that. Like, it's so gross.
Yeah, it is disgusting.
So gross. I really love when Tom Savini, as the biker, goes over the railing, and the guy, all the goofy crap with all the bikers is hilarious.
It is weird. They're like robbing zombies. Yeah,
it's nonsense. Spoiler alert, the scene where Roger turns is really, really impactful. The sequence where Gaylen Ross is like doing her makeup in the mirror and she's like losing her mind. Everything in that movie is amazing. Where Ken Foree gives the classic line. Do you have that line queued up?
Yeah, I've got that line.
Yeah, let's play that line.
Okay, let's get that line.
Line that's on the poster.
The line that's on the poster?
Yes, this is a famous line, and they reuse it for 2004, and it's Ken again saying the line. So, but here we go. I'm going to play that whole scene, because the whole scene, I think, is pretty good. So.
Just play the whole movie.
No, I'm not going to play the whole movie. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes.
They're after us. They know we're still in here. They're after the place. They don't know why. They just remember that they want to be in here.
What the hell are they?
They're us, that's all. There's no more room in hell. What? Something my granddaddy used to tell us. You know Macumba? Voodoo. Granddad was a priest in Trinidad. He used to tell us, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth. And his dad...
His
dad was a voodoo priest.
Oh my God. That.
You used to tell me this all the time, every day.
Fantastic.
We've been here for months, and you're just mentioning this shit now.
I know, right?
And I could go on and on, but then I'll cover every scene, so let someone else pick their favorite scenes.
Trish.
Oh, I have a few. One of my favorites was when she kind of tells him, "Look, I don't want to be, treated any differently. Don't ever leave me without a gun." Like, she just lays out the stuff that's very smart. She's like, and plus, I need to learn how to pilot that chopper in case anything happens.
Exactly.
Like, she's very logical with a lot of this stuff.
And she's not their den mother.
Yeah. She's like, look, guys, I'm part of this group, but, honestly, there's a few things we should probably be thinking about. And it's smart. Everything she's saying makes sense. And she's like, guys, just pay attention. Everything's going to be fine.
And they totally easily went the other way with her character.
And they could have.
What you would expected.
And like what we were looking on at the trivia, where she didn't want to scream because she felt that would undermine her character's strength. Like, she's not the damsel in distress, and she isn't.
Exactly.
She truly isn't.
She's a fighter.
Which is a nice turn from Barbara in the first one, who basically is catatonic mess.
She was of no use.
But in Savini's remake, he reimagines her and kind of almost combines the two characters.
Yeah,
but anyway,
she changed halfway through.
Yeah, we're not talking about that.
We'll talk about that remake another time.
Yeah.
No, the other one I really liked too was just how some of the scenes where it's just kind of like the three of them. Like, there's one where Peter makes dinner for the other two, and I just think that's just lovely. Like, it's a nice moment where it's like,
but it leads up to a horrible moment.
It does,
where she's like, "We can't get married. It's not real."
But she kind of has a point.
She's right. Yeah.
She has a point, but that's the thing. Like, these people are trying to find a way to deal with this, and she's doing it differently than he's doing it. So it it helps with the character development in a way that I really enjoyed. And actually, the final one is one that I've seen a number of times. It's a clip where their buddy, he finally turns, and the sheet comes off his head as he's lifting up.
Yeah, that's the scene where Roger turns. Yeah.
And his buddy shoots him, and they just hear the shot.
Yeah, Peter has to shoot him. Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes too.
Because he's terrifying, but you're like going, but like, he looks so human.
And for me, the best makeup of any zombie in the film too,
hands down,
is that close up of him.
He's great. Like, it looks perfect.
It's a great scene, haunting scene, for sure. Yeah,
that's something.
Good call. Both of you guys picked that scene. That's also one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah,
when the sheet comes down slowly, right, and off camera kill, because they didn't need to show that, right?
No.
That was a great scene for sure. My other favorite scene is when the first appearance of Flyboy, when he comes out of the elevator after he's turned.
Oh, I love that scene.
Yes.
Oh, it's so
And
good.
the other zombies are ready to pounce on whoever's in there, and they see him and they turn away, and he comes walking out, and he's got the pistol
just
in
dangling,
his hand, and he's walking with one foot. Somehow it's like broken, and he's limping along
Because he fell.
Because he
right,
fell from the top.
That's right. And I think that when he first show his face, excellent. Just
good makeup too, actually.
For
really
sure.
good. Yeah, he had a lot more blood to cover up the lack of prosthetic.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
there's still lots.
And then another scene is when Peter is playing tennis up on the roof.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And he's done, and the ball falls off. The tennis ball falls
goes
off. The
popping
ball
down.
bounces down, and the camera pans back and shows all these zombies in the parking lot, and then more and more and more, and then you see just how big the event is now, how big it's gotten. I think it's a great
Giant.
scene because it just shows, like, sure, they're safe in there right now, but outside
The threat's growing.
the threat is getting bigger.
Yeah, it's not even just still there.
Some of my favorite scenes in movies are always the scenes that set the tone, not so much the gore,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a
Because
great
that makes the
scene, too.
movie different than other movies, right? Is the tone that he creates. Like,
And it
like
also-
Carpenter does better than anybody. Romero is very good at that too.
Mm-hmm.
It also breaks up that montage where you're like, oh, everything's. Oh wait,
That's
no.
the end of that montage.
Yeah, that's where
Yeah.
it stops. You're
By
like,
the way,
yeah, look at all
zombies.
these guys, but by the way, FYI.
And then a new threat comes. The bikers come.
Which is so 70s it hurts, but whatever. It is what it is.
It's true, but yeah, no. It's
I was waiting for, like, just even a biker zombie in the remake, just to nod to that, and they never really do.
yeah.
But
Well, it's the post-apocalyptic idea where there's going to be bandits and
Yeah.
rogue people just looking to take.
they're a professional army. They've been living on the road since this thing started.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, for Walking Dead television series borrows so much from Dawn of the Dead. Of any zombie movie ever made,
so much.
It's Dawn of the Dead for sure. That the writer of Dawn of the Dead.
Oh yeah,
or
the
of Walking
character
Dead,
zombies.
I thought of one more.
right?
for sure. Go ahead, Trish.
Oh, okay. It's the one. It's the very end one. We can do the end one
No, do
where
them all.
Peter changes his mind. You
Yeah.
think he's gonna be like, oh, I'll kill myself before these zombies do, and then he changes his mind.
Now
Yeah,
that's actually
awesome.
an interesting
I
point.
love that.
The original script had everybody committing suicide,
Yeah, that's right.
and
She was supposed to get her head chopped off by the helicopter,
They
right?
they certainly allude to that more than once during the film. Yeah, the head chopping scene. I think they wound up using that special effects.
Oh yeah, it's
somewhere early in
earlier
the
on when
film.
they stop for fuel.
Yeah, and
Another
they
guy
used
who
the
tours around doing
aperture.
conventions.
But they do also have child zombies at that scene too.
Yeah,
the only time,
gas
I'll point
station.
this out, the only time in a Romero movie where zombies run.
Yeah, where they're
Those two children, they dash out at Peter, and it's the only time that they're
Yeah,
not
that's a good
shambling
point.
zombies. Yep.
Tom Savini's niece and nephew.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
These-
right. I just found that out today too, watching the bonus features.
I just found out right now.
I already knew. I watched a movie
and
good.
Ken Foree said I didn't enjoy that. I did not enjoy that scene, doing that scene.
It's a pretty rough scene. He
Yeah.
throws him on the couch and machine guns him to death.
Like, yeah, Ken Foree is really good in this film.
It's great.
Yeah.
In those days,
It
kids
took
were
me a-
never harmed in films like that.
No.
Never.
Not in American films.
No.
But
Oh,
it-
that's right today.
yeah, like I
This
mean, it's
Dawn of the Dead was a very, very taboo film when I was young. Like, it was impossible to find. You couldn't rent it until much later when video stores started bringing in cult movies. But it was very hard to get, and it was almost like I really wanted to watch it, but at the same time I didn't want to watch it, right? Because I was worried it was going to be too shocking when I was young.
I felt that way when my cousin suggested that we watch Night of the Living Dead when I was 8, and I was like, oh no, I can't. And I still get that, but only with old movies. I get that, oh, maybe this is going to be too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I recently watched Zombie Lake, European zombie movie. Frickin' terrible movie.
Yeah.
But I still got that moment when I'm going to hit play where I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't watch this. Maybe this is going to be too intense.
Yeah.
But I don't get that with new movies. We'll get to that with the new one. But I don't have that, like, fear of being shocked
Yeah,
like you
I know what
got
you're
with those
saying.
old movies, right? Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those 70s movies were way more exploitive and
Way
harsher and rougher and violent than movies nowadays.
Yeah,
You know
like
what I
they're
mean?
like I'm
In a
saying,
different way.
this older one, in comparison, I was like the gore in it. Like
Way
I
more
was just,
graphic.
I felt a little
Yeah.
nauseous at a couple of points. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
FYI, never eat chili while watching this movie. Just important note for
I never
everyone.
eat fried chicken
I
when you
think
watch the first
Jeff
one.
and I were talking about Last House on the Left and a while back, and it's a similar thing where the original's far more shocking.
And it has one moment of gore in that whole first
Yeah.
one. That's really like in your face, where they try to do it over and over and over again in the remake. And then, you know, maybe it just is a tell to practical effects.
Oh,
That I
yeah.
find that practical effects, because they are real, are a lot more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the CG stuff gives them an excuse to
CG
go
dates
further.
itself. That's
And it
the
does.
problem.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it totally
Yeah.
does.
Practical effects don't date themselves. Is if they were done well in the beginning,
Oh yeah.
They're still
they'll
look
always
good.
last for decades. They'll still
For sure.
look good.
Yeah.
still
In
look
high
good.
def, sometimes you can see the appliance and the makeup around it a little bit, but yeah, it's still that first bite, that long pull of skin and blood, that gets me every time. I can't think of a single moment in Snyder's movie, and I love that movie, but I can't think of a moment in there where I was like, that gore is. I can't think of a moment of gore in that movie that really like sticks with you
Oh yeah.
because it's all throwaway.
They're all disposable.
Yeah,
That's why Romero is the master at zombie films. He makes them most shocking and
Land of the Dead
Just-
when they open that hangar. And he's reaching down that dude's throat and pulling his guts out.
Yeah.
Holy shit! All practical effects.
Day of the Dead, the best for me, the best Savini
when they
effects
pull-
ever
yeah.
are from Day of the Dead.
Yeah, when they pull the sergeant apart.
Oh.
Okay, when that we're
not talking about those movies.
We could talk about all of
Gore. Let's do
I
a
love
gore
Savini.
episode.
He's like my hero.
But yeah,
I mean, I
practical
love the guy.
effects. Yeah, they are. They're
Yeah.
just something.
He's a master of his craft, and they're timeless.
I think
for
it's
sure.
because they're real, but they're also so tactile.
yeah.
Like you can imagine the squishy gooiness of it all.
Yeah, the extras get in there too when they're like, they're like rubbing it all
He
over
had
their
to use
face.
real pig guts in the scene where that biker gets his guts pulled apart.
Oh.
When he gets pulled off of that machine,
Yeah.
underneath his fake stomach was
Yeah.
pig intestines.
You could
because they didn't
tell that
have
stuff was
prosthetic
legit.
intestines
Yeah.
in those days.
Yeah.
So I mean, Savini had to invent everything that was done in that film, and he's never been considered the best makeup artist. It's just never what it's about with him. He's the guy that invented everything else that everyone else improved on later.
Yeah, well,
He's your effects guy.
yeah,
like your
he's
practical effects guy.
trying to figure it out for the first time, and everybody else just is improving on it.
His apprentice Greg Nicotero is probably the leading authority on zombie
These
makeup
days, for
these
sure,
days
yeah.
for sure, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was the head of the Walking Dead TV
Which
show
is
for special
company's K&B or
K&B.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
K&B.
They're the biggest effects house now. I
now.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they
were
got-
making a splash even a decade ago, but
Oh, yeah.
now
And they got their
Walking
start on
Dead's
Day of the Dead, working under Savini and Romero.
Yeah.
Greg Howard Berger and Greg Nicotero.
Well, we should get into a little bit into the remake as well. So I'm going to play that trailer, and we'll start
Is it
talking
5
about.
minutes long like the other?
No, the other one
No.
was so long. Like that was 2.5 minutes. I think this one.
Can I just make a quick note
Yeah, go ahead.
about the Rotten Tomatoes has Dawn of the Dead, the original, at 95% fresh rating,
Nice.
Wow.
which is crazy for a horror film.
The remake, I think, was around 75. Did anybody look that up?
That's right. I looked it up.
75%.
You're right. Exactly 75%.
So pretty good for
which
a
is
debut
really good for a
filmmaker.
remake.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and a remake in general.
I doubt any remake has that kind of.
And Roger Ebert gave a great review of the film.
The original or
The original.
He wasn't also. Yeah, I saw his review of Zack Snyder's, and boy, he got some mixed reviews, as he always does, honestly.
He does.
But we'll get into this Zack Snyder's film in a minute, and I'm going to play that trailer.
Hey, Vivian.
Hey, look, I can go backwards.
Let me see. Hey, that's amazing. Hey.
Hey, you. Vivian? Honey, are you okay?
State of emergency. Everybody they kill gets up and kills.
Residents are advised to find a safe place and stay there.
I've just been informed that we are going off the air and switching to the emergency broadcasting system.
Look up the road, there's a lot more of them. Why are they coming here?
Maybe they're coming for us. Sooner or later, they're gonna get in here. Our baby's gonna be fine. It's only a matter of time. It's coming. They'll find a way in.
Oh, God.
All right, so that was the trailer for Dawn of the Dead 2004 for Zack Snyder. And tonally, very different movie. In fact, this is a different movie pretty much entirely. It's still based in a mall, different characters, and even different zombies. These are the faster zombies. This is very shortly after an outbreak. And he establishes this world in a very different way, where Romero establishes world through that TV station and what's going on, and he'd already had a movie to build upon. Whereas this one, they had to kind of establish the outbreak. It was kind of happening in the background of these people's lives at the beginning of the
suburbs.
In the suburbs. And the way that builds, it just goes from 0 to,
0 to 100 immediately. In
It's
some of the most beautifully shot scenes.
The beginning of that film is some of the best stuff in any horror film, I think.
It's a shorter movie. It doesn't have time to waste doing anything.
No.
Those tracking shots and the aerial shots are just
the aerial shots are
mind-blowing.
When the van goes through
the van and hits the gas station,
and she just keeps going.
Yeah.
And the there's helicopter.
That's one of the best
scenes.
Yeah, just her, driving through the neighborhood, and you're
with that front-mounted camera, so you're seeing
zombies
her
chasing neighbors.
You never get to see what's happening in neighborhoods. It's always like, the big city, downtown. You never get to see what's happening in the suburbs, because that makes it more realistic as a viewer.
It's what's great is it's the suburbs, because that's where that's where families are. That's where you're safe.
Live.
You're safe in the suburbs.
This movie's
right?
more frenetic action. The
very first zombie in the film is a child.
Yes.
I mean, that's crazy.
That you established earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
She's the rollerblading backwards girl. Yeah.
Neighbor girl.
And something I think Zack Snyder does pretty good, despite there's a lot of characters in here, and you don't get a ton of time to develop them. The actors, everybody gets that little moment where there's only really one character who's not likable, and you're not supposed to like him.
Oh yeah, he's supposed to be a dick.
And he's like one of the best characters in the movie, I think.
He was.
I love that guy.
What's great is I love him in everything else, but he's such a dick. I hate him
Burrell?
in this. Ty Burrell. He's great.
Steve
is his character name.
He's my favorite Modern Family character, but I hate him in this movie. It's great.
You're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's just such a
But the credit's got to go to James Gunn for writing the...
now James Gunn, for those of you who may not recognize the name, at this point, I'm not sure how, because he wrote and directed Guardians of the Galaxy, last year's huge
biggest movie of the year
in the summer. So
most notably, though, he created Tromeo and Juliet.
I've never seen it.
I've seen it.
Penis Monster.
I liked it. Yeah,
I want to see it though, because he's involved. I mean, I'm a big fan of his
and
now.
Slither,
one of my favorites.
Slither's great.
James has been on my radar for quite some time.
He's got the perfect mix we talked about earlier of comedy and action comedy and horror.
Yeah, those comedy beats
over and over again,
and it's very apparent in this script.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't think
this one's pretty light on the comedy.
It's still a dark movie.
But he knows when to put it in, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's more Ty Burrell's sarcasm is our light notes.
Yeah, the characters' personalities give you the comedy breaks. Not in the movie
stuff.
itself.
Yeah, it's not some goofy guy who will just put out a one-liner.
I mean, a lot of characters, they're all kind of business, and they're either shoving a lot of their personal shit aside. Sarah Polley does this really well. She gets little quiet moments to just seconds to grieve.
She's excellent. I'm so glad she was cast.
She's great. She's a great mix. Like, she can be like just that vulnerable yet tough like character that makes sense. Like,
Can we talk about how many Canadian actors are in this?
Yeah, let's go for it. I mean,
how super Canadian is this?
Us being all Canadian here.
I think we'd be better off saying who isn't Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a smaller list.
Anybody else? James?
When I was looking it up, at least 8 of the main characters are Canadian.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And for good reason. This was shot in Thornhill, Ontario.
That's right.
Yeah, Thornhill. And this was all shot pretty much in a mall that was going to be demolished. So there was a lot of stuff they could build from scratch in the mall. Everybody kind of vacated. Not a lot.
They could also trash stuff.
Not a lot of outlet stores wanted their name attached to this thing.
That's right.
Ironically,
Starbucks backed out. They didn't want to be involved.
We were talking before we recorded. It was Roots and Panasonic. They were the only ones.
Mm-hmm.
And
to me, Roots very Canadian.
Very Canadian.
Yes,
right?
super Canadian.
And
Americans are like, what's that?
Yeah, it's what
you get
our
beaver
American
wallets and
equivalent
sweaters.
be.
What else do you want?
Yeah. Now, to me, this was actually worked to the benefit of the film because they got to create all these shops whole cloth. An upscale store named Gaylen Ross right after the actors from the first film.
That was nice.
Which is
tribute.
Really wonderful tribute there. One of the few actors didn't actually make a cameo in the film. And Hallowed Grounds, everybody saw that coffee shop at the beginning, which is a great name for a coffee shop, and is a nod to the opening music.
If there is a real shop like that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's got to be
a nod to the Johnny Cash music.
Johnny Cash song, yeah. When that whole movie just like... It's so good. Fuck.
Yeah,
it's just really good.
It is really good.
To me, this gives you the beats of how to do a remake.
Fans of the film. And absolutely, this is a good example of a good remake because they took the nuggets of the idea... But they created new characters. It was a different mall. The mall was a character in and of itself.
It's like a reimagining.
Yeah, they can renew the ideas, keep everything inside it, like do nods that make sense, but not disparage or like not disrespect the source material. Like still keep a lot of it.
At no point.
Why try and remake a movie?
Yeah, why shot for shot?
Why
you want to do
people they do it all the time.
They do it all the time.
I mean, don't just remake it scene for scene. That'd be stupid.
Yeah,
just
Ken Foree.
Then you're just psycho with Vince Vaughn.
Why not just watch the original?
Yeah, Ken Foree gets to be one of the few guys who gets to redo his own line as a pretty crazy priest dude.
Yeah, religious.
Yeah, he's a religious priest, but funny, in the previous film, it was his voodoo priest father who says it. But this is the heavily Christian-themed priest that's spouting all this stuff again.
It's a little more relevant.
Yeah, well, and it's still fairly crazy, racist.
Richard Rubenstein.
So your man-on-man
homophobic, sexist.
It's but he still gets to do the no room in hell line.
Yeah, there's no room in hell.
Awesome. And not the only actor from the original film to make a cameo. David, how do you pronounce his last name? Emge. And we're going to go Flyboy.
Flyboy.
He got to be in the film as the sergeant?
The general.
Yep.
Yeah, the
general. Which got me confused. I thought he was the other guy, and I thought Andy was the pilot. I literally went through part of this film thinking that Andy was the guy.
So, I mean, pretty much all your main cast has either a cameo or a nod of some sort. Tom Savini is in there as the sheriff. TV. Yeah.
Tom Savini makes a guest appearance in like almost every remake, or at least so many new horror films.
Oh, tons, yeah. He's so recognizable.
So well loved by new filmmakers, right?
Yeah. Tom Savini's like, we gotta get Tom Savini. You gotta get Tom Savini.
And he's got this unique look, too.
Yeah.
So
he's got a unique look, and like, I don't know, there's like this, I enjoy him. Like, when I see him and stuff, I just like watching Tom Savini.
Now, okay, what do you guys prefer, slow zombie or fast zombies?
Well, yeah, let's talk about this. This is the first
different
fast zombie movie.
It really, and boy, was it controversial.
Is this before 28 Days Later?
Now, 28 Days Later, I think, was before. It was.
Yes, it was.
At no point did they claim
they are not zombies.
Yeah, that's true.
It was they're infected with anger.
Yeah, this is the first zombie.
Yeah, they're not zombies.
Yeah, I was in the UK, so it was about 2002-ish.
They didn't die. Yeah. They didn't die.
No, they eventually would die because they weren't eating or whatever. Yeah, so this is the true first fast zombie movie. And I'm just going to tell you all what my brother said to me. He said he hates it. He hates this movie. It's a brilliant movie. He hates it. He likes the old ones. And the reason why is, he said to me, and I quote, "I'm a fat guy. I stood a chance in the 60s and 70s. And there is no fucking way I can outrun a zombie now." So
I'd be zombie bait for sure.
He had a bumper sticker on his truck. I don't know if you remember this that said "Fast Zombies Suck." Like, Cannot stand them.
I have one more question, too. Like, they say these are the fast zombies. In this film, do they actually call them zombies? I don't recall them.
Well, they never say zombies in any film.
Yeah, I don't think so, yeah.
No. Anytime there's a zombie movie, there's never
zombies,
any
never
zombie
reality.
history.
I always think that's so funny.
No one knows about
We're not
shooting
saying
in the
that.
head, anything.
Yeah, I love Shaun of the Dead where they're not saying it. That's the only movie they've ever said the Z word.
Yeah.
We're not saying that.
Now, I mean, I think the fast zombies are impactful in this one for creating senses of urgency and terror in a very different way. They don't hold on the shots of these zombies very long. The makeup's great on them and they look monstrous, but they don't hold on them for very long. It's their quick cuts back. You're cutting back to the reactions of the characters, and that's, I think, pretty important in establishing the tone of this film. It's always a sense of urgency.
Yeah, the infections are also pretty. They were fast, depending on like the severity.
Super
of the
fast.
bite.
So the whole movie has that theme through it. Like, it's hectic and it's fast and chaotic.
It's frenetic,
and things build and build and build. And like, you know, in the scene where they pull away in the first movie, you know, where Ken Foree loses the tennis ball or whatever, and you pan back. Like in this movie, the horde is unreal.
It's huge.
Yeah,
and I mean, probably because it's like 80% digital.
And we do see it build and build and build.
Huge.
But it's really impressive. I'm definitely skipping here, but we can skip around.
When they try to escape?
When they try to escape, and the bombs of propane tank bomb.
That's the best.
When it just blows up and just...
Which I think
clears
can never happen.
And it is but it makes for such good film.
I think they tested that
really
on...
Mythbusters? Yeah. Okay, that was my other question.
It wouldn't create a shockwave like an Akira and knock all the zombies over.
But it looked...
It looked
awesome. It looks great.
Yeah. Anybody who thought that stuff in World War Z looked pretty impressive, this stuff was...
I love how people are like, well, it looks so fake. You're watching
So the budget for this movie was 26 million.
Just saying.
Wow.
As opposed to what I think $650 million or $650,000 of the first one.
$500,000, and then like they budgeted for like 1.5, but then they deferred a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that first movie is like
they had that ceiling
good
they
for
could fix
26 million. I mean, that's low compared to like some blockbuster standards, right?
They made good use
but
of that.
But it made 102 million, so it was a huge hit.
Yeah,
and that's what gave Zack Snyder. That's how he was able to do 300.
He got a toehold to do.
Now,
yeah.
Now let's put this in late 70s perspective. Original budget was somewhere, depending on where you're reading it, whether it was IMDb or Wikipedia, it's anywhere between 650,000 or 1.5 million. But worldwide gross was somewhere $40-50 million.
See, I heard it was
so it did really well for a low budget film.
The original Dawn we're talking about?
Yeah, the original Dawn.
Okay.
So you think, adjust for inflation.
For inflation,
or whatever.
it's
I mean,
huge
it
hit.
probably was a bigger success than this Zack Snyder
this current
movie.
one.
Apparently, he started making money in Europe first before it made money in the U.S.
Dario Argento, the legend Dario Argento, was heavily involved in the first film. He loved it right out of the gates, so he helped develop it. He got producers and money in place.
His name comes up.
He did the European...
In the theaters there, Dario Argento Presents.
Yeah, he did the European edits. He did a lot of the music. I think he was responsible for Goblin coming on.
Probably. I'm not convinced he isn't Goblin at this point. I know there's 4 other guys, but there isn't an Argento movie I know about that doesn't have a Goblin score.
It's just so cool how they worked together on that film. Like how he let Romero live at his house and apartment and write the movie.
Yeah, right, for 3 weeks in
Rome.
Rome.
And there was no like competition or he didn't try and tell him what to do. Just enjoy yourself, write a movie.
He really believed in the project, and
still hear stories like that.
You could certainly see Zack Snyder is a fan of that project as well. Everything in his movie there's lots of little nods, and we should talk about.
He's a fanboy for sure.
He's got a lot of love.
He comes from Troma, so like Troma is like the art house horror company. And so, sorry, I'm thinking of James Gunn.
Yeah, well, he's definitely loves
He's a fanboy too.
But he's the guy who wrote it, right?
Yeah.
So all these nods are coming from James Gunn.
Yeah,
really,
for sure.
Right? So being this like horror background, especially in like as much as I love Troma, the bottom of the barrel of the horror community.
Yeah.
You have to have a lot of love to work on those movies.
Sure,
it was a
good pairing, the director and the writer for the remake, for sure.
Brilliant pairing.
Yeah, they are a great pairing.
Yeah,
for sure.
you have people who want to do
Zack
this and want to
Snyder
do it
is
right.
obviously a big
and you
fan.
can tell.
Was that his first? Was that Zack
his
Snyder's
first
directorial debut?
First film debut. His debut film. Yeah.
Oh, he did car commercials and stuff.
Yeah, lots of
before that.
commercials and stuff, and probably
slow motion Subarus.
Probably a video or two.
Yeah, no, like when I saw that movie. Oh, do you want to talk about like first time seeing? I got a good story for this.
Yeah, okay.
So I was in the theater for something unrelated about a year prior with my wife and my cousin and stuff, and the trailers start and the screen goes black, and you just hear that goofy music from Dawn of the Dead, the original Dawn of the Dead.
And he used that, yeah.
He used it in the trailer. Yep. I don't remember it being in the movie, but
in the trailer.
He used it in the trailer, and it was that do-do-do-do little song, right? That they play in the ice rink or whatever. And as the first note, I would
have picked that up too.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, Dawn of the Dead.
I don't remember doing that. I probably watched the trailer online
It was a teaser or something. And my cousin, of course, she's the one who showed me Night of the Living Dead. So she was like, oh my God, we're all freaking out. My wife is like, what the hell is going on? We're like, it's fucking Dawn of the Dead. And it opens, the teaser opened, and there's the fucking mall. And it was just like, it blew my mind. Like, I couldn't.
And you had no idea, you never heard anything about it before that?
No idea it was coming.
See, I'm always spoiling it for myself because I get all these magazines and online things, and I always hear about movies well before anything is on screen.
True.
And so
have you ever seen
it's
Jay
never
and
a surprise anymore, right?
Have you ever seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
Yes.
So when they're talking about the movie reviews, and they're like, oh, well, whatever on this blog site says your movie was shit, and Jay goes, what the fuck is the internet? That's pretty much how I was until about 5 years ago.
Okay.
So nothing was ever spoiled. And right now, in the world of spoilers, I don't watch trailers anymore. I don't click those links. I see nothing until I'm in the theater.
I should start doing that. They ruin them.
But I was so excited for this movie, and it really was kind of the first big, at least for a horror guy that I can remember, it was the first big remake. Did any of the other come before? Because Freddy vs. Jason was maybe before, but it's not a remake.
No, I was thinking about that too, and I think the success of this film might have been the downfall of Remake.
It started off the apex, and then
Michael Bay
started it again. It's not like remakes haven't been done prior to this, but I think it started a new trend of them, and they really started looking at them.
I think people are like, hey, which horror movies can we do now?
So they set the bar way too fucking high. That's the problem.
And this movie was a pleasant surprise for me too. I had got through the comic shop I worked at screener passes for it. So, and I don't think I'd actually seen any trailers up to that point. I didn't
clearly had never seen the original.
Clearly hadn't seen the original, so I wasn't really
didn't know who
references.
Zack Snyder was.
Nobody knew who he was. I'm sure he saw a commercial by accident, but that
wouldn't have known. The commercials don't have credits.
Yeah, they don't have credits. So, came out of that film, I'm like, yeah, that was awesome.
How did you first hear about it?
Actually, through an ex of mine. He was. We were out. And we were like, oh god, like when they still had I think Casablanca, the video store was still available.
We've talked about Casablanca in previous episodes.
Yeah.
It was a local
video store. And we were out, and I'm like, oh god, like something horror-y I think would be really fun. Like I want something that kind of like just nice horror. And he was like, hey, Dawn of the Dead, it's really good. And I'm like, zombie movie, really? Like I don't like.
That's
I watched
so 1978.
It's true, but I wasn't like a huge zombie fan. Like this movie makes me like zombie movies. This is the one that turned me. Like
it's a good introduction for new fans, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like after seeing this one, I'm like, show me all the zombie movies.
Exactly.
I want to see all of them.
It just helped bring Romero back to popularity again.
Oh,
totally.
For
Because
sure.
then Land came after, and all of these movies he wanted to make that he just because no matter how successful,
Shaun of the Dead came out right away.
No, actually, Shaun of the Dead was being made around the same time. In fact, when this movie opened in England, they had to bump Shaun by 2 weeks because it was going to open the same weekend.
Yeah.
Really?
And
Really?
it wouldn't have done as well. I don't think.
So I mean, if anything, bumping Shaun 2 weeks after Dawn really helped that film.
I'm surprised that those guys didn't have George in their film. Like, that is a giant love letter to George.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
They were in George's film.
Yeah, they were in George's film in Land of the Dead, but
to be fair, Shaun, they wouldn't have been on George's radar. Like Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, this is one of the first things.
I'm just surprised they didn't approach him. That's all.
Yeah.
because he's pretty accessible. But that's a thing that's funny about this is, Night of the Living Dead is groundbreaking and everybody loves it, and Dawn of the Dead did really well, and Day of the Dead did really well, and he never made Land because he can't get money. He's always struggling to finance his movies.
Yeah.
And even now...
And they're 10 years apart.
Yeah, even now, and that's why, because he can't get money, so it's crazy.
Day of the Dead never actually made any money until VHS.
Way later.
Yeah,
sure.
I think Dawn was definitely the most commercially successful film out of all of them.
I think so,
that he's had, including Land. Land is probably the biggest budget he has ever had to play with.
And that movie, I initially want to, and it's just John Leguizamo was terrible, but revisiting that movie now, it's really good and it's really gory and they do some stupid crap in it, but it's a solid film, and I remember people really hating on it. And I sort of did too.
I quite liked the movie.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I think they wanted to be like the other three too much, right?
Yeah,
it's too glossy and too many big stars, maybe, and just turned some people off. But I'm not a hater.
It looks
like
a big Hollywood picture.
It is a big Hollywood picture. Yeah. And the thing that I remember people complaining the most about Land of the Dead was the use of tools. Right, that was the big deal. Was that they were smart zombies. And I caught this, and I don't know if you guys caught this as well, but when the eye patch guy is talking to everybody in the TV station in the original Dawn of the Dead, he says they've been seen using tools.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They also bring up something too, which is weird in the very first one that I thought was crazy, and I've never heard of it since. Where the one guy with the eye patch is like, well, for a food source, they bring up eating the zombies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of weird. He's
which
like,
I've
5% of the whatever.
The human body is meat. It's food. We could just use them for food. And I don't think I've heard of that again.
Yeah, that's
it's
crazy.
A weird thing, and it's a small little note, but I remember thinking
something Romero and both Zack Snyder talk about is why are they going to the mall? It's this back of their mind, this memory of a place you go.
Yeah.
Ving Rhames does basically the same speech that Ken Foree has in the remake. It's like they
just know they have to come here.
To them, he says, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It sidelines it though, that scene in the original is very, very crucial, and it's a slow burn scene, right? You get this whole backstory, and it stays on them contemplating that for a few seconds before he cuts the shot, right? But with the Ving Rhames one, they're on the roof, whatever, they say it, and then all of a sudden the guy across the street shooting it. It's like, we can't linger on this moment of dread. We've got to go to the next big thing, right?
Yeah, Zack doesn't give
it's a fast-paced movie.
You can't slow down.
You can't have too many slow parts.
There's that point where Sarah Polley is kind of getting her shit together. They just get to the mall, and she gets a private moment to go get a first aid kit, and she's on the verge of breaking down.
Well,
the neighborhood kid just tried to kill him, killed their husband. Husband tried to eat her, and she's running through all this carnage in her car, and before she meets up with everybody, and she has this moment just.
Yeah,
and they don't even give her.
She doesn't even get the moment.
A few seconds, she's like, you can see she's going to break down, and somebody says, "Hey, snap it up! Let's get that first aid kit." And she grabs that first aid kit and moves on.
Oh, speaking of beats and nods and beats, the 3 security guards that they run into at the mall. Now, I always thought that was a nod to the policemen they end up meeting when they have the helicopter in the first movie.
And you know what? In a way, I think they are similar characters for sure.
That's what I thought that beat was a nod to.
And they do make another reference in the Zack Snyder movie to those cops. Where are they going? Well, they're taking a boat to an island. Well, what island? Any island.
Any island, yeah.
And the other guys, well, we're taking a helicopter. Where are you going? Up.
Yeah.
So, and at the end of Zack Snyder's movie, we see them get on this boat and land on an island.
And then credits, and then spoiler alert, there's zombies.
Sure. Lots of zombies.
And why do security guards have guns?
American Mall.
And it's supposed to be in...
yes, in Canada, the security guards just look intimidating.
Really? They don't just get tasers or something? I haven't seen Paul Blart. Does he have a gun?
I'm sure they got one of those long, heavy sticks or something that collapse in on themselves.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Or a mag light.
Do you guys know what state they were supposed to be in?
They say, I want to say it is like...
Panic? I can say
state of panic. State of panic. Yeah. Is it like Minnesota or Michigan or something along those lines?
Well, but it's got somewhere with a marina.
Well, no, it has
to be somewhere with a marina.
The boat they were on Lake Michigan.
Okay, so you can go through.
They were
the Great Lakes to get.
Yeah,
out.
they were boating on the one
So
of the
Minnesota,
Great Lakes.
I think it was Minnesota.
It could have been somewhere around there. You know what? I honestly don't remember.
So the
at any
boat, they're
point
on a
them
lake, not on the
establishing
ocean.
that.
No, all I know is it has to be somewhere you can get to a boat and has a marina.
A Great Lake looks like an ocean, so
Yeah,
I don't think
I just
they
don't
ever
know
made it
about
to the
islands
ocean.
on those lakes too many.
Well, and there was this shack in
Lake
the forest.
Ontario has. Well,
So there were people living on this little island.
Yeah.
So at one point, because they definitely get hoarded by zombies in that credit sequence.
For sure.
I don't think they made it. I mean, does anybody? I've think
there was supposed to be
to
a
them?
sequel to this film.
That's right.
That was shelved because Zack got too busy. He had actually
he was trying
handpicked
to
a
do well.
director to do it, who wound up. I think that was the director from Divergent.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure somebody out there will. But they did have plans for it, and then it just never really happened. And I'm kind of glad it didn't, because I like
the unknowable bit.
It was going to be called Army of the Dead.
Was it Army
and it was
of the
going to
Dead?
be set in Vegas.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And
Because
he
you
was
can always boat to Vegas.
So I'm guessing it would have been
It would have probably been a completely different cast. and
Okay,
story.
good.
I'm guessing it was a sequel in the same way Romero makes sequels.
Okay,
it
good.
just happens in the same
It's just in the same universe. All right.
Yeah.
He was going to produce it only and direct it. It was going to be directed by the guy that did the Thing.
But he got busy.
Sequel.
He got
Vegas would
busy
be a
with
nuts place to
300,
do it.
I do believe. So.
Yeah, he would have been doing that.
Vegas would be a crazy nuts place to do one of these.
Oh,
we saw that in Resident Evil 3 Extinction or whatever, when they're in Vegas there.
Yeah.
And she can mind control crows for some reason or whatever the hell happens
Yeah,
in
I
that
don't
movie.
know.
But that one was in Vegas, so we've already been there.
We might talk about that on a completely different podcast
For
at
sure.
some point, because
Yeah.
I do like that franchise.
Yeah, the first 3 are awesome.
It does fall apart after the first 3, but I like
those
how
kind of
keep
movies
changing.
lend itself to many different stories, though, right? Because if it's an apocalyptic event, you can have, farmhouse family story.
Yeah.
You can have a
There's
metropolitan story.
Millions of stories happening concurrently.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Now, I thought in Zack Snyder's, they don't do a lot of character development, and when they get to the mall, Kenneth, Ving Rhames, gets charged by that zombie and has all this time in the world to shoot him in the head and doesn't, and I felt like there's a story there that never got told.
Yeah,
he
I don't
hesitates, and I kept waiting for that to develop into something, maybe he shot a kid or whatever.
He's secretly the guy from Die Hard, that's why.
Yeah.
I shot a kid.
Shot a kid.
Well, I don't know, but I kept waiting for, and
didn't
all
even
these
say-
characters
he
are
didn't say-
He
interesting.
takes the time to ask Sarah Polley if she can say something,
He
so
didn't
it's
even
good that he
speak
hesitates
for
at something.
the first 10 minutes he's on screen, right?
No,
he
has-
says say
he
something.
say something to Sarah
His
Polley.
biggest
Yeah. Well, that's it.
conversations
Yeah.
are
And then-
holding up whiteboards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's, the quiet type.
Yeah.
Now, actually, that was probably one of the biggest scenes. The one that everybody remembers is the Hollywood Square scene, where they're, shoot Burt Reynolds,
Oh, yeah.
shoot
and-
Rosie O'Donnell.
See, I got confused by Burt Reynolds because I kept looking. No, that's Weekend at Bernie's. That's. I thought he was Bernie at Weekend at Bernie's. That's a great game, but you're gonna have trouble. He might misinterpret and think it's somebody else.
And in a way, that guy across the street in the gun shop, Andy, the guy they keep talking to with whiteboards and binoculars, he's just as interested because he's isolated, and this is his only contact outside of his gun shop are these refugees at the mall. And Andy gets a nice bonus feature on the disc.
Which sets up a timeline, too, actually.
Yeah.
It shows that the stuff that happens in this movie takes place over the span of about 29 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he's starting to starve, right? He's running out of food.
Now, I've actually got a clip of Andy from that bonus sequence in the disc, and it's his point of view of the Hollywood Square scene. So I'm going to play that for you.
Okay. This is. We were out there playing Hollywood Squares, right? I mean, there's all these dead fucks down there that totally look like famous people. Jay Leno, George Clooney, Rosemary Clooney, Burt Reynolds. I had to waste Burt Reynolds. And then there was this one guy, totally looked like Mr. Tomasini, my 10th grade gym teacher. I must have shot him like 50 times. There ain't nothing left of him except for his head sticking out of a puddle of red Jello. I mean, is this totally fucked up or what? But it's kind of cool. I mean, because I get to smoke all these people, but they're already dead. So
So yeah, he's having a blast shooting all these already dead celebrity people, but feels somewhat bad about it. Not really. He's like, oh, isn't that cool? I get to shoot everybody, but they're already dead.
But during that, we get a really great callback to near the end.
Yes.
The Ty Burrell character and Sarah Polley.
Oh, well, let's get into it.
Yeah, at the one point where she thinks, like, you guys are damaged, aren't you? Like, because she's like, this is like a sick game. And it is a sick game. But honestly, you're just trying to do something. Like,
yeah, they're just bored.
They're bored, and they've got guns, and they're like, well, they're just zombies.
And I didn't really understand Steve Ty Burrell. It was like this was just a TV show he was watching.
Oh yeah, like he doesn't feel engaged.
He's not engaged. He's completely.
Well, I think as a human, he was never really engaged.
Yeah, he'd probably be a sociopath.
Yeah,
or
he doesn't establish relationships with humans.
He
doesn't
care about people.
Yeah, there's a little scene where they find the camera with him partying with all his girls on his boat, and just kind of shows. Yeah, he was a douchebag.
Actually, they established that even earlier in the montage.
Where he's
the shopping montage,
the girl.
and he's
videoing the girl, or whatever.
videoing the girl, but he's looking at himself in the camera.
Oh yeah,
so he's completely self-absorbed.
Little nod to American Psycho.
But anyway, the nod is the nod is at 2, where he says, like, look, if I'm one of those things, you have my permission to shoot me, pull my head off, and she's like, oh, I'll do that.
Yeah, actually, it makes me wonder if this was in a way inserting the American Psycho character into this film.
Yeah, maybe.
In a lot of ways, it did. I think you nailed it right there.
This is how he's aged.
So what are some of the favorite scenes of this film?
The entire opening sequence.
For me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
From
hard to beat.
From 6:37 in the morning, right?
Yes.
Yeah. As soon as
she crashes.
As soon as she crashes, opening. That whole sequence just blew me away, and then leading into the Johnny Cash song, right? Which is so weird, but it works so well with the film. Like, the music's weird. I think that because Zack Snyder picked all the music and the studio was against it or whatever, but he did successfully what I feel Tarantino has failed to do all the time, is like take really obscure, out of place songs and throw them in your movie. And I
made those really work in this
movie. They
movie.
really worked. Yeah. The other scene that I really liked is right in the beginning as well, where Sarah Polley runs to the bathroom. And she falls backwards and smokes her head into the bathtub.
And that looks. I wrote that down too. It looks so painful.
It looks really. I don't doubt she tripped into that thing.
Yeah.
But there's one sequence where now there's this whole looming threat thing. It's the only time we slow down in this movie that I can think of is where she's stepping out, and it's a really slow foot onto the carpet. Scene before she goes to the door, and then of course Bly comes to the door.
Very Tarantino. Look at the foot.
Well, not even that. It just it was a really slow moment. It's like, okay, is this happening? And then she's doing something that, when you watch her put her bare foot on that rug, you're like, oh, that'd be so nice. Look at that rug, right?
It looks cozy and comfy.
It would be awesome. And then boom, it's just everything explodes, and that's the end. That's the only moment where
there are some really spectacular aerial establishing shots in this film too, and during that escape from her house. And again, when they're escaping the mall,
what else stands out in your mind?
Oh, the propane tank exploding and all the zombies toppling over. And
see, my only other one is that moment, where it's Matt Frewer, Max Headroom, when he's dying, and they've come. To get him, and his daughter's like, "Don't kill him, don't kill him." And
that's a pretty powerful moment.
Yeah, she's like, "Don't kill him," and Sarah Polley's like, yeah, go ahead. And the other guy, she calls him out, but then he calls her out. He's like, you said that the bites do it. And she's like, oh, crap.
And I know Jeff hates Frewer's daughter in this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she's the worst. She's the downfall of everything in this movie.
Yeah.
She's the biker gang.
But at this point,
movie. She fucks everything up.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, too, then they establish the bit where it's it's Ving Rhames, he finally tells her to go because he knows.
Yeah, and he'll take care of it. I felt that sequence, because you're really, you're trying to do Roger again. And in that respect, it doesn't work. Because you spend so little time doing anything in this movie. This is so fast-paced, right? Mm-hmm. We just meet this guy. They pile out of the truck, and then
time to get attached.
You don't get attached. So when he dies, it's sad because his daughter's...
But he was bit before he got there,
but
right?
It ties to the whole theme, okay, if you're trying to do it before they turn, it's murder. If you do it after, you're just killing a zombie.
Yeah.
And that's in both movies.
True, but the emotional impact isn't there.
Now, I think the more impactful character, especially on his psyche, is Mekhi Phifer's character.
What's his name? Andre.
Andre and his mail order bride.
Yeah, his mail order Russian bride.
Very pregnant, and at some point she gets bit, and he keeps it a secret.
That was at the fountain point.
Card.
There's a scene right
at
that
the beginning.
Yeah,
you don't know when the first time you watch the movie, you don't notice, but when you watch it again, like I did this morning, when they all figured out that the bites cause the infection or transfer of blood.
He's got.
If you look at him, he goes like this. He looks down and looks right away. You can see the expression on his face change.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So he knows.
Yeah.
But he didn't know before.
No.
And then he's gone for the rest of the movie until you find him with his wife.
Yeah, and he's got her chained down.
So he knew it right there, but you don't see it in the film the first time you watch it.
Yeah.
If you see it now, you'll notice.
So he's acts normal around these people, but he kind of like he loses it. He doesn't. He's got a child to be born. He can't let go at all.
That's his redemption. That's a whole other story we don't touch on.
And to be fair,
he goes, I done a lot of terrible shit, and this kid's my one chance. Yeah. And that is like literally the entire. He says that word for word, and that's all you get. But that's why he's so protected.
Unfortunately, he's written out in the most your job is done kind of way.
Yeah.
Send one of the new guys from that truck.
The very, very well-known Canadian actress.
Yes.
Who is the truck driver. If you are a Canadian, you'll be like, I have seen her in everything.
Yeah. Nobody knows her name, but you'll
we've seen her in everything.
She's in it. Yeah.
She's amazing.
And they wind up
she's been in
shooting each other,
King of Kensington.
You guys serve no purpose now. We're going to shoot you guys out.
But we get to what I'm sorry. It was one of the for the gore of the first one. This part is the one that only kind of gets this is where it was gross.
Baby
gross zombie baby is just.
Has that ever been done before?
Dead Alive.
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
To quote my brother again, screw that scene. If I want to watch a zombie baby, I'll watch Dead Alive.
So,
they did it better, and I agree. That scene was poorly done and completely unnecessary. That whole baby scene is just.
I don't know why they had to waste a bullet on killing it either.
Well, yeah, just stomp it.
Just throw it against the wall. Done.
Ew, people.
Guys.
Oh my god.
You've thought about how the easiest way to kill a baby is that what we're
there's so many easy ways to do it. I mean, you run out of ammo. They were already running out of ammo.
Yeah, well.
Wow, whoa, a look into the window of the psyches of people who are here.
How about the heavyset woman? To be politically
freaky
correct.
makeup. That was
when she wakes up and starts running at people. That was a freaking good scene.
She was freaky, right? Yeah. It looked like she had taken a couple hits to the face.
But why would they even let her in on the wheelbarrow? She already looked like she was undead. I mean, holy shit! They should have left her outside.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that trope that happens in movies where they're infected, but I don't know, maybe we can do something about it. Or you don't establish that the bites do it.
Yeah.
Because actually it's after her, Sarah Polley says the bites do it. Right after.
Yeah.
Because she's I established she was dead.
There for.
Well, she saw it twice, 2 clinical trials. We're good.
Are we ever going to see a zombie movie?
It's anecdotal evidence, but still, that's what we've got to go on here.
Are we ever going to see a zombie movie where people already know what to do and are prepared?
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, well, that's...
Hit him in the head and they throw those records at him?
Yeah. Not that one.
Not that one. Throw it.
Now, Steve.
Best character.
Yeah, he's... we were talking about a bit, and when they went to go rescue Andy, which didn't go so well, and come back, Steve had one job. I was yelling at my TV screen, you had one job, man. One. Be at the door.
Well, I think we've established he's a sociopath, and he doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't even
in his mind, they're
that
dead.
The conversation even happened.
I think, in his mind, they're dead, and he's like, if I open that door, I'll just let zombies in. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah.
He doesn't give a crap.
And I was surprised he wasn't killed there and then.
My favorite character is CJ.
He's
an asshole, but he
redeems himself.
No, CJ has an arc.
Yeah, exactly. That's why he's the one who arcs the most in the whole show.
I think so too. I think he's got the biggest, most obvious story arc.
Starts off as an asshole, dies as a hero.
Yeah. Oh, completely. Yeah.
And boy, he's unrecognizable.
But he's also
his character in House of Cards.
But he's a competent guy. Yeah. Usually, when they make those asshole characters, they're stupid too.
Yeah,
you can see his hair thinning though because he's
and they're useless.
Yeah,
but he
becomes
intelligent enough.
That was Michael Kelly.
He's a leader. He is a leader.
Yeah, he doesn't like being usurped as part of the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
You could suggest things and make it seem like it was his idea. And
but that's about it. But you can't just go in and say, this is what we're going to do. It's like, no, he
they
won't
have
do
to-
it just because you said it.
Yeah, they have to flip him for a little while and let him stew as a captive like he did with the initial refugees. And once he becomes useful again, then he kind of finds where...
Well, yeah, and I think the other bit too is like
be.
once he's fought with other people who are trying to fight the same fight, I think maybe he kind of wakes up to the fact like, I need more than just me to get out of this.
Well, 'cause
not surviving without
He
them.
shows it right away, being an asshole. He shows that he's a good guy because he's trying to maintain the norm.
Mm-hmm.
He locks those guys. I don't want you guys wandering around stealing shit, right?
Yeah.
Because it's his job. He's trying to maintain the norm.
He's doing what he thinks is right, for sure.
Reading Cosmo magazine, he's a level-headed guy.
Was that really Cosmo?
I don't know if they say that, but it had one of those relationships.
Does anybody have an
lists.
issue with any scenes in the film like that were just didn't make sense?
I didn't like the Hollywood Square scene.
No.
I felt that it didn't fit. Like this weird, we're all...
It was the only really moment of levity in the whole movie.
Yeah, but it didn't fit.
Yeah, but it
just
doesn't
didn't fit.
feel. It doesn't feel quite like the levity you require. I think.
Even when
It's
Gaylen Ross
dark.
is learning to shoot, she's shooting mannequins.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's not shooting over the side of the building. at the
There's
zombie.
a certain amount of...
and when she is trying to shoot,
Well,
she's
I
trying to
think
shoot
it-
to help somebody.
Yeah, but I think it also shows a bit of disconnect from it as well. Like, these people are no longer thinking of these zombies as former humans. They're just thinking of them as, this is what's trying to eat me now. There's this...
Yeah.
It establishes a disconnect
The
with
first
these
group,
characters.
like she trains and prepares, right? In this film, in the remake, none of them.
Oh yeah,
do
apparently
anything.
everybody knows how to shoot a
They
gun
don't learn
all
how
the
to
time.
shoot or anything. I would be teaching people
That drives me nuts. Yeah,
how to swing a weapon or how to shoot a gun. Instead of
Everybody
just
seems
sitting
to
there
be
drinking
And
coffee.
not give up your crowbar for a cricket bat.
Yeah,
actually, that was my...
Or not cricket bat, sorry.
A croquet mallet.
Croquet
Yes,
mallet.
that was the one
Those
thing that
things are
drove me nuts.
useless.
Yeah,
They're
he
so
hits
light.
that guy and it does nothing.
Well, it's just
hilarious.
he's in a sporting goods store.
Yeah.
There are bats there.
Yeah,
There's better stuff.
Like a bat is just better. Oh, but that actually
then
brings
you-
me up to the point of the first film where the pilot guy, he was the worst shot ever. I'm like, don't let him have a gun
He was
until you teach him
useless
how.
when he swung that sledgehammer
He
at
was
that
worthless.
zombie. What kind of a swing was that? I mean,
Oh, he was terrible. But
He's a helicopter pilot for a TV station.
They
Yeah,
established
but they established
that
at the
he's useless.
beginning that he
Yeah.
can't shoot.
He's
But they're like
useless.
going, no, take his gun away
You can't
until
do-
because
you
you're
can't
just
even-
wasting ammo at this point.
That's how I'm going to be. I'm just going to impregnate the ladies. I can't swing a hammer.
Yeah, when he's running around,
I'll be the one shooting 'cause
pipes
I
in
can
the mall,
shoot.
and it's just bullets are ricocheting everywhere. He's hitting everything
Yeah.
but that zombie.
but that's you have to once you've established a safe place to hunker down, and first thing you got to start doing is preparing and training and getting ready.
But you have to also like keep in mind like you can prepare and train, but like if there's somebody who's showing no aptitude after so much ammo is
well,
gone.
then there's zombie baiting. You just shoot him in the leg and then run.
No. They could be like drivers. They might have other skills. You've
Okay.
got to establish people's
Well, that
skills.
gets to my point. The worst scene in the film is they spent all this time making those awesome buses, and they frickin' drive so fast that they crash. Like, what the hell are they doing? Oh, they were totally safe in there. They didn't need to drive that fast. Once they got away from the horde outside of the parking lot, they start flooring it. The second bus just wipes out right away, like 5 minutes. They're driving 5 minutes, and it's already crashed.
Well,
that
this
speaks to
pisses
the
me
frenetic
off.
action of this
True.
whole movie. It's just
also
constantly like
these things
that.
are fast, but wasn't it the problem at the beginning? I kind of always assumed when they were having trouble moving forward, it's because you only have so much horsepower to get through that horde.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a problem, right? So.
They went through all that trouble blowing up the horde with the gas tank, and then they get going, and then within 5 minutes they crash again.
Well, I'm thinking
It's
they
like-
probably wanted to go fast enough to get ahead of the horde.
Well, these are running zombies, but they still only run at human speed.
True.
So,
But you want a buffer time,
and then
don't
Ving
you?
Rhames
You
gets
still
up
gotta
to the
get
pier
ahead of it, I
and
guess.
goes right into the tires, go right over the dock, and now that vehicle's toast too.
Yeah, that part I didn't understand.
So it's like, I understand you're panicking, but you've had time to.
You know how to break a vehicle.
This plan you've had this plan for a while now. Then you go and fuck it up.
It was a
by just-
terrible plan. The only guy who actually said it was Steve.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, that's a good plan. I'm like, you guys were relatively safe where you were.
Yeah.
It didn't... At no point did going to that boat make sense. They just wanted to go somewhere else. else. I think they were stir crazy.
But
more
that
than anything
speaks
else.
to it. Like, you're isolated and locked into a place. You're a prisoner.
They had supplies. They could have.
But if you have
stayed there
supplies
for
in a
good long
place
time.
and you're hunkered
Didn't they have
down,
to
you will
leave
become a
'cause
prisoner
that
eventually.
Dumb idiot fucking let Chips go deliver that guy a sandwich and then got worried. And then she's like, come here, Chips, and has to go and fucking save him, and it ruins everything.
Well, that was the beginning of the end there, because they went to rescue her. They let the zombies in through the sewer and then into the mall,
That's
and then
why
they had to leave.
That's why they had to
So
leave.
that one girl.
But they'd
ruined
already
it.
had the plan.
Lindy Booth.
Yeah, but if those
Terrible.
cups weren't done, they were screwed.
Yeah,
hate her.
Do you remember Lindy Booth from
What else has she been in? She seems familiar.
Kick-Ass 2? She was Night Bitch.
Oh,
Looks very different
that's
in
who
that.
I do not remember.
She was also in Wrong Turn. She got chopped up by the
Okay,
hillbillies.
I gotcha.
You've seen her in a bunch of stuff.
She's also
got
on
one of those faces.
Relic Hunter as the receptionist.
yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's the one you guys. I don't even know what that is.
That's Tia Carrera.
Tia Carrera's Indiana
I only
Jones
know
ripoff.
her
Is that
as
a Canadian
Wayne's.
show?
Wayne's,
Yes.
Seems very
girlfriend.
Canadian.
Yes, very Canadian.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was very Canadian.
Okay, well, we're around an hour and a half here, so.
But we have Steve's death, which comes to fruition.
Oh yes.
Steve tries to be a dick. The thing tips over. Everybody else is injured because, of course, the chainsaw thing that they thought of earlier that I don't think we talked about didn't really
Through
work.
the windows.
So well.
Through the
Terrible
windows,
idea.
and then they hit
Terrible
something,
idea.
and then you basically somebody else got chainsawed inside.
Tim Poirier
Not
got
a good
her
idea.
shoulder cut right
Yeah, and
down.
then it bounced back and got the guy who had the chainsaw. So, like, they're bleeding, and then Steve gets up and gets out and doesn't help anybody
He
else.
turned fast,
In fact, he
though.
closes the door to make sure
closes
they
the
don't
door.
follow him.
So to make sure nobody else is there, and then he's like standing there, and hears this dripping, then a zombie's on him.
Yep.
But
off
then
the roof of the bus.
they stop to
And he
get their
turned
friends.
like so fast, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop to get their friends.
Well, he that blood was dripping into an open wound.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
So
Established the
even
infection.
before he got bit, I think he was infected.
But yeah, then we find out he's turned, and who is there to take him out? But Sarah Polley, who said, "Hey, I am more than happy to do that for you,"
Yeah.
and does it.
I'm sure
Yeah,
that
that
there was
was
a
good. That was a
line
good scene.
forming behind her.
And his makeup looked amazing, too.
Yeah, his was really good.
Yeah, the makeup in general in this movie is really good.
It is good. I don't find it as stand out as Dawn of the Dead, and maybe that's just because I've seen that other movie so many times, and this one less times. But I don't know. No one really was a standout. The heavy set lady was the only one I always remember.
Yeah.
But past that, not really.
Yeah, no. Well, you don't spend any, like you said,
You don't
you don't
spend
spend
any
any time with any of them.
No.
Yeah.
Well, has anybody got any more points to make about these movies? I think we got a good discussion
About the
about
last
them.
song of the film, People Who Died
People
by
Who
Jim
Died.
Carroll.
Yes.
Awesome song.
Good song. I mean, the soundtrack
Amazing.
for Zack Snyder's movie is really
It's
good.
great.
Yeah.
He pre-chose his songs and had
Yeah,
to put
I
him in the
mean-
film after.
Yeah, like the Muzak version of not
the
love.
lounge singer
I want to
version
know
of
what
Down
love.
with the Sickness.
No, I want to know what love is in the elevator.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
I
like
want to
this
know
song.
what love is.
CJ says.
And that's what CJ says.
How about the lounge singer version of Down with the Sickness?
Yeah, by Rick
Yeah.
Cheese.
Get
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
with the sickness.
Well, who is that?
It's by Rick Cheese. It's off the Lounge Against
Rick
the Machine
Cheese.
album, actually.
It's-
I didn't
it's
even look
funny.
that up.
Very cheesy.
Yeah.
So good.
and it's
Ooh,
yeah, it's great. I mean, the soundtrack.
It's awesome.
I used to play that soundtrack all the time.
And you know,
on my
James
MP3
Gunn
player.
also does that for his films. Picks appropriate music through all
Well,
his
anybody who
films,
saw
right?
Guardians of the Galaxy knows how good
Oh my
he is
god,
at
the
picking
mixtape
music, so.
that
Well, that's a
became just
different
as huge as the
discussion,
movie.
Yeah.
Because I disagree.
Yeah, I like it when movies are the music's suitable for
Suits
the film.
it, yeah.
It makes you
Yeah.
remember the scenes too.
Oh yeah, like sometimes you put in an old tune and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's,
Yeah.
And before we go, I'm going to play that Johnny Cash song too. But there was some remake news recently. Nightmare on Elm Street is going again.
I did hear that Robert Englund is on deck to play Freddy.
Really? He's getting a bit long in the tooth,
you know what,
isn't he?
Yeah, but what does
Honestly-
Freddy look like? He doesn't need to
less
look
makeup, that's
Sure, but
beautiful.
These are rumors for
I would
now.
love that.
Okay, so rumors.
There's so much crap being put out on all these social Facebook
Yeah.
like entertainment reporter bullshit. I'm telling you, it's so much of it. Like they've been talking about a Halloween remake for like years, and now it's finally real. The one that's coming out. It's coming out in October, right?
Halloween?
Yeah.
Yeah, Halloween 3D or something it's called.
Is it Rob Zombie
But they've been
again?
talking
No,
about it so
Rob's
many
not. He's
years,
done.
and same with the rebooting Friday the 13th. You know, there's all these stories about, oh yeah, it's in
That's
production.
coming too.
Yeah.
Well, they announced a TV series.
So I don't believe any of that until
Yeah.
I see a trailer, basically.
Or a teaser trailer.
Well, in the case of the Friday the 13th TV series, I'm pretty skeptical about ever seeing that one happen. But it might go to pilot. Oh, this one's actually going to have Jason Voorhees in it.
Oh, it's not going to be
it's not going to be a
Relic
pawn
Hunter
shop
show?
No.
It was the pawn shop where there's the evil
From what I
objects.
understand, it's about a detective who goes to Crystal Lake to investigate a disappearance. So it's more centered around this cop thing. So I'm like,
that'd be a really quick fucking investigation, depending on who he runs into.
Jason Voorhees, I don't see how this is going to work very well. But
I hope they have a skeptic like Scully in it.
Every network wants to bank on the Walking Dead success.
Maybe that's
they all
the
want
answer
their own horror show
to fix True Detective. That'll be the 3rd season.
AMC didn't even try.
Yeah, Walking Dead was easy, and
well, they do Walking Dead, but AMC didn't even try because they're like, oh, we're going to do another horror TV show. We're just going to spin off Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Not even looking for another property.
They did pretty good with.
But like I said before,
series,
that world, there's so much story to tell, right?
You don't need
so
to
why
do
not
the
tell an
same
origin
characters.
story? Yeah. An origin, like there was no origin story to Walking Dead. That he woke up.
Oh,
after
that's coming in the spin-off thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, but that's a lot of money, right? The reason most movies don't do origin stories is because it's the budget. That's fact. Like most movies that have like an apocalyptic event, it's already happened.
It's easier to get into it.
To show it properly, it's very expensive.
Honestly, those type of things, they're just tools to drive the character, and that's what's important. Really, what caused a zombie outbreak, would cause an earthquake, whatever. The stories
really
about
the
matter.
individuals.
Yeah. George Romero said that. He says he doesn't make movies about zombies. That doesn't matter.
We're learning just like the people in the film are. We don't know what's going on either.
Yeah, I have so many people tell me that Walking Dead gets really boring at times, and maybe on a week-to-week basis it does. I tend to shotgun them on Netflix or whatever, so I'm watching them on a much quicker scale.
Netflix, we're looking for some sponsorship money.
That's right. Yeah. Netflix is awesome. And I don't find at any point does that get boring because I like the character-driven stuff.
Me too.
When somebody complains there's not enough zombies, I'm like, well, I hate to tell you this, but zombies are kind of boring unless they're attacking people.
It's a human story.
Yeah, and you have to be attached to that person to care if they're going to get eaten by a zombie in the first place.
I don't know. The downfall of some of it too is like you say there's character and stuff, but I just find some of it was just boring crap that was happening.
And not everything's going to work. I'm not saying that it doesn't have slow episodes and bad episodes. Every TV series does.
Yeah.
But
you can watch all of them in like 25 minutes if you cut out the middle.
That's what's important about the zombie genre in general. The good zombie movies are about the characters.
My mom loves that show, and that's all that matters. She's the one that got me into horror. I would not be sitting here today if it wasn't for my mom.
Oh, there you go.
So she's the biggest Walking Dead fan there is.
She can have my
She's
share.
67 years old.
Yeah, I'll give her mine too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we had a good conversation, and we didn't touch on everything, but we definitely got through a lot of that stuff. This Zack Snyder movie was not a shot-for-shot remake. It was a reimagining, much like some of the best redos of movies. Somebody's taken the nugget of a good idea and made it their own, but all the fundamentals are certainly there. And I'm sure everybody at home has got their own points to make, and you can make them on our Twitter feed at Invasion Remake or at our Gmail, just Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com, or on Facebook, we're Invasion of the Remake on Facebook. So hit us up.
Guys, we're Invasion of the Remake.
If you got it,
mention that.
Yeah, it's at Invasion Remake on Twitter. So
what is it called?
Twitter even limits your name. So it's at Invasion Remake on Twitter.
All right.
Yep.
So follow us on all those
tweet
places.
our face space and
Well, thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks for coming and talking about these. I think in the world of remakes, a successful remake to a groundbreaking, brilliant movie.
Yes.
Yes, I think so too. This is one of the most enjoyable remakes I've watched, and even though this is like episode 3. But
true.
We got a lot of remakes to come on. Next week we're going to remake a film. We haven't discussed what that is yet, so we will surprise everybody, including ourselves, next week with a movie that we're going to remake. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of Johnny Cash.
My boy up in the sky.
The man,
JC.
The man who comes around.
Great song.
I'm Jason.
Jeff.
Trish.
And another Jeff.
Hello. Bye-bye.
And we're out of here. Thanks for coming.
And I heard as it were the noise of thunder. One of the four beasts sang, "Come and see." And I saw, and behold, a
life worth.